And we're live.
We'll have to plan something fun for episode 100.
Yeah.
I know.
Like confessing that this was all just a farce, and
We just made it up.
we all still have
have a
9-to-5 jobs, and
We have someone who writes the script.
yeah.
I was hoping for a Mario Kart tournament.
It's funny. Actually, you know what's really funny about that? Like, I'm conversing with that guy that wrote that nasty Amazon review.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are you? Okay.
About, like, and a lot of the substance of his Amazon review is how I'm basically, I mean, essentially it comes down to, like, if you're selling snake oil, you're fake, and you're, right, and I think it's funny because I'm like, if you look a little deeper, I think you'll find that I'm pretty transparent, like pretty much as transparent as you can be.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to point him towards Entreprogrammers and be like, yeah, okay. But I'm actually going to interview him I've invited him to be interviewed on Simple Programmer.
Oh, cool.
I think it'd be cool, actually, just to get his perspective, because obviously, I mean, he thinks what he thinks, and obviously I disagree, but other people think the same thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so it'd be kind of cool just to have him say what he thinks, and just to me kind of explain why things are the way they are, and just to have a discussion about it and just see where it goes. But
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It seemed like he's very much in the mindset like the best. He wants a meritocracy. He wants the best.
yeah,
Like the best product always wins. It's just not the case.
No. Good marketing will beat a good product anytime.
yeah. It's like he wants to live in a clean room environment,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
not like that. It's
Everybody
like-
plays by the same rules and submits their resume through the same process and goes through the exact same interview, and then they make the decision based on all that stuff, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
yeah.
Welcome to reality.
It's funny too because he's got like I actually deleted my comment because I commented on his comment.
I saw
on
that.
his review, and I was like, oh, 1 year, a whole year of experience, and he took that badly. He was like, oh, you publicly attacked me, and so I deleted.
After he publicly attacked you. Gee.
Well, but
I felt like that was a little bit of an ad hominem
Yeah,
attack.
it was.
That was.
that mine was.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
like it wasn't mean, but it was there was a better way to do that.
That's interesting because he
Yeah.
definitely called it an ad hominem attack.
I
Yeah.
have no idea what that means.
It
It
means
means
that
it's
you
Latin.
discredit the person instead of their argument.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
okay. So there's two things about it. One, I was actually meaning it to indicate that he only has a year of experience. So obviously, like he doesn't have the depth to understand like that the
Right.
world is not a clean room environment. That like I wanted to highlight that point. Is like
That's
this,
how I
this
took
review
it,
is coming from
actually.
someone who has 1 year of experience. We'll talk
Yeah.
again in 10 years. But the other point of that is I don't think there is such a thing as an ad hominem argument, and people are going to give me flack for this because I don't think it's possible to attack someone's argument or their thoughts without attacking them, because we believe our thoughts and our arguments, and they're tightly integrated with us. I mean, we don't separate. Like again, this is that clean room. In a clean room environment, right?
Mhm.
In a perfect world, we could attack someone's thoughts without attacking them. But in reality, in the real world, if you attack someone's arguments, it is always a personal attack. There's
I
not
completely
now they may not take it personally, but it is a personal attack because people's beliefs and what they think comes deeply from who they are, and it makes up who they are. So it's really not. I hate when people use that, say ad hominem, because it's like, well, yeah, I understand what you're going for. Like, I mean, if someone makes some logical argument, then you say, well, you're a douchebag.
Yeah. Well,
I suppose that would qualify, but in most cases, like it's a lot more messy than that.
yeah, you've got it turned around though, because an ad hominem attack is you're trying to discredit an argument by discrediting the person who made it.
Right.
Whereas
Right.
if you
Which is
attack
what
the
you would
points
say.
of the argument itself and argue the points that they're making,
Yeah, it's not that it's not personal, I guess.
Yeah. Then you've got a valid rebuttal. Whereas with an ad hominem attack, you're saying, well, you're dishonest, or you're inexperienced, or you're this, or you're that, to try and discredit the argument instead of actually arguing the argument.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I have it a little bit skewed, I think, but I think it still applies because, I mean,
Oh yeah, people can take it personally.
Well, the fruit, like to use the old biblical, it's like an apple tree bears apple fruit. A thorn, what is it? A thistle, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't get the person can only produce what that person is. So
Yeah.
when you say, like, I think it's totally valid to look at someone's character or who they are when you look at their argument. I mean, it's to me they're so ingrained that it doesn't make sense to pull them apart, because in the real world things do not live in isolation. An idea and a person are very much related. A perfect example of this is like Martin Luther, right? Like a lot of people try to separate it, but he was actually a pretty crazy guy. Like he was pretty whacked out, right? I mean, he totally was subscribed to what do you call it, where you
self-mutilation,
self-flagellation,
yeah.
He if you read some of his writings, he had some really, really strange ideas, right? And so people try to say, oh well, let's take what he said and who he is, and those are separate things, but they're not separate things. They're in part of the person. So I don't know. I'm going off.
No, that's fine. But then what you wind up doing is, instead of attacking him as saying he's crazy, what you wind up doing is you look at the way that he came to his arguments, and you present that as evidence, and then you pick apart the evidence, even though the evidence is actually his life and his approach to things. And so you're attacking the argument again. You're not discrediting it just by saying, well, obviously he was nuts.
Well,
you could do that, and that would be an ad hominem attack.
Yes.
Yes, but in reality, that's how we okay. If someone tells me something and they're nuts, I discredit it immediately, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Totally.
You've got to I don't know. To me, it's like I hate those stupid things that people post. They're like, the fallacies of arguments ad hominem, and then they're like, circular definition. I'm like, okay, sure.
Well, and most people who attack things, or who basically attacks on whatever they believe, by saying that those arguments are logical fallacies, they're just as guilty usually of logical fallacies. They just, they're just really good at picking out the couple that they've picked out.
Right, exactly. Yes, exactly. So I don't know. We're dealing with humans. We're dealing with emotions. Yeah. We're not dealing with the realm of logic. Sure, you could debate a mathematician with those rules, perhaps on a mathematical equation, but in the real messy world, you can't really make distinct. Like, people are their ideas, and it is personal. That's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you in that we can't completely separate these things, but I disagree with your outcome based on my own experience in dealing with opinions that I disagree with, and also based on raising children. I mean, I'm not like super parent, but I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and one of the things that I learned early on as a parent is that I don't discredit the child for the mistakes they make. No, you fell down. What are you, stupid? Don't you know how to walk? No, it's a mistake. You explain the situation to them, the cause of them falling down. You were sitting in your chair sideways. I know you wanted to sit sideways because you thought it was fun. Maybe it was more comfortable because you were trying to look at your brother who was sitting on the floor. But, here, when you sit in your chair sideways, you fell out of the chair. So in that way, I am addressing the problem. I am not addressing the person as a failure or not explicitly stating that they have failed, they are a failure. So yeah, you're right, we can't separate actions and opinions from the person and who they are, but that doesn't mean we have to address the person and their life experience as the cause of things. You can address the situation. Right. You can look at the person that was attacking you and say, look, I understand you disagree with this, 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 and this. Here's my experience on why these things are valid. And if you have experience that says otherwise in your career, that's great. Let's talk about our experiences. And in that way, you can get to the, look, you've been doing development for a year. I don't think your experiences are going to be as broad or as encompassing or probably not as valid. And you can get to that same point by taking the approach of looking at the situations and not looking at the individual person. Yes, we all look at the person. It's heuristics, it's shortcuts. That's what the human brain does. That's why we are human. It's just how we are. That doesn't mean you have to take that approach, though.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with everything that you said there, and I guess I'd say that I mean that is the approach that I'm taking. Is in fact
No, you totally are.
I
love the approach you're taking with this guy talking to him. I think that's pretty freaking amazing. Most of the time, I just get pissed off and write snarky comments and go rant about it on Twitter. You know,
Well,
you know, it's like my kids. My wife had to take me up and drop me off in Salt Lake County for Toastmasters last week because my truck broke down. And so my kids,
not for Salt Lake County, not just Salt Lake County.
Right, but whenever we do that, especially before school with my kids, we're going to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And so my kids drew the conclusion that they were dropping me off and they weren't going to see me for a few days. And so it was, Dad, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? And I'm like, in a couple hours, you'll be at school. And, you know, and so, yeah, I mean, there's some faulty reasoning there. There's a certain lack of information there. And so the approach of, you know, let's look at your reasoning. Let's look at the information you have. Let's supplement that with, you know, maybe some proper avenues of addressing the conclusion that you've come to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe we can find, you know, the truth or the right answer, as opposed to, yeah, it feels a little bit like, you know, with you've only got 1 year of experience. It's you're too green to have a valid opinion, and I think that's the difference.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't want to justify try to defend my commenting on his thing. It wasn't good, so I deleted it. But I think that's the distinction.
Yeah.
We're trying to make.
Oh yeah. That's it. And like just having conversation will be. I don't know. I hope he accepts it because I told him I'd give him a fair. We'll just have a conversation because I'm curious to hear what he thinks. Like whether I disagree with it is his perspective and it is valid. Because it comes from the place of having, you know, there's going to be other people that have that perspective. Now, I have a feeling that when he hears my perspective of why I do the things, and that will have an influence on the way that he thinks. But I also think that what, you know, having a good conversation with him would help me with my marketing efforts as well, because then I'll be able to understand his perspective a little bit better, and the other people that have that. And be able to more clearly communicate. Maybe I can not rub them quite the wrong way from the very beginning, and still have the effect that I'm looking for, but not have it be as in your face or you know, it'd be interesting to find out. So
I love the whole snake oil thing. Like that is not really. That's just one of those terms that you can just throw out there.
Yeah.
But
I know, right?
But snake oil, by definition, I mean, here we'll go logically, right? But by definition, snake oil is something that you sell to someone that does not work, right?
Yeah.
Well,
it does not do what you claim it does. So just because they don't like what you're, maybe they think that what you're saying would never work. I mean, maybe that's true, but I don't get the sense. I get the sense that most of the people that critique this type of marketing stuff think that it works. They just don't like it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is not snake oil.
Or they think it doesn't work on them, right? Because they're too there you go.
Most
people think marketing doesn't work on them. what they don't realize is one, you're not like your customer necessarily, not the same, and two, you are like your customer in the fact that it does work on you. You just don't realize it because it works at a subconscious level.
The stuff that works on you is the stuff that's transparent to you.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
you don't even know.
You notice the stuff that doesn't work on you, but the stuff that works on you, you don't even know that. You just take it right in.
I mean, clearly, marketing doesn't work on any of us, which is why 3 out of 4 of us are using a Rode Podcaster mic. Most of us are using Apple laptops. I'm sitting here looking at an Apple monitor. I've got these nice big boxes of Legos in the background. I mean, clearly, there's no marketing that would ever work on intelligent people like us.
Well, it's funny too. What's really interesting too is even if you know it, even if you deny it, it still works. Even if you're aware of the situation, and it's funny because and you can test this with something that. Okay, so everyone knows that flattery is bad, right?
Right.
That flattery is not a good approach, right? You shouldn't flatter people, right? And I could tell you, hey, I'm going to flatter you, and then I could flatter you, and it would make you feel good. Like,
yep.
it works because it doesn't matter that you know that someone's not being insincere, that you know that they're trying to flatter you. If they say something good about you, you'll feel good about it. Like that's not like. I mean, that's an extreme example, but but if that works, if I can tell someone I'm going to flatter you, and then I lay on the flattering, and then you still feel good about it, then you have to really question whether advertising works on you. Because
another perfect example is I'm going to mention something that I want you guys to think about here, but whatever you do, don't think about elephants.
Right.
All 3 of you and whoever is listening right now you're now thinking about elephants. I told you not to, but you're now thinking about elephants because I mentioned it, because it was, I mean, it's one of those things that even though you know what's going on, what's happening, it still works.
Yep.
It's just psychology. It's the way human beings are.
It's funny the snake oil thing though, Josh, because people are going to get pissed about this one, but I don't care because there is actually one snake oil thing. It's funny because it's even called oil. The essential oils, that is actual snake oil. It really is snake oil
as you can get.
It's even called oil. So when people are selling this and they're like, "Oh, it heals my cancer," I don't take my kid to the emergency room. Instead, I slap some Lysac oil on there. I put a couple of drops of licorice oil on their forehead, and then it heals them. I'm like, it's even called oil. And people are selling it to you for ridiculous prices.
Right.
Have you heard of
I will
snake
mention
oil?
I can drive to the doTERRA corporate office in about 10 minutes. They're based here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's funny.
Yeah, they're across the
You can
freeway
drive to
from
all
the
of them.
Tahitian Noni
Want to be in.
offices.
Where you live is the headquarters of the
of the MLMs. Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, it's crazy.
All the magic juice and magic oil and the super secret fruit extract and they're all based here.
But anyway, I don't know. I wish the guy well. I hope that he does take up the offer because I would like to have a conversation with him. And it's at this point. Like when I first read the thing, I was like, oh, that ticks me off. But now it's like, well, he just has a different perspective, and I would like to I think it'd be really good to be able to get a detractor, someone who does not agree with what I say on my website because. For one reason, like I said, there's going to be other people, and that will it won't look like it's it'll make things appear more objective, right? Because I'm it's not just everyone cheering me on, and then so it might convert some people that were negative about that or on the fence, and then what will also help is that people that are basically for fans of Simple Programmer, but they're in the medium zone. It'll push them into the hot zone because it's
Did he go off static for anyone else?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, oops.
You're better now.
I'll try harder. Anyway, that's enough.
Take the
robot voice.
Take the marbles out of your mouth.
So the interesting thing about his commentary is I still understand his perspective. I know why he's saying those things, because I've said those same things about a lot of the stuff that I see all of us doing, including me. I mean, if you go back and listen to the history of our episodes, you'll hear me constantly saying, no, I don't want to do that, no, I don't like that, no, I don't agree with that, because
Right.
these are all things that I think are, a lot of what we do is bordering on that sleazy marketing crap that drives me crazy, but it works.
Well,
I mean, and there's a huge difference between selling snake oil and being honest and open and having effective marketing as well. And clearly, I've been able to grow my own business and have been at least somewhat successful in what I do, using a lot of the techniques and tools that I swore 2 years ago I would never use.
And for the benefit of others, I think is the key. So I always say this: the difference between a leader and a manipulator is whether or not you do something for your own good only,
right,
or for the good of others, because it's the same exact tactics, right? Good leadership and good manipulation are the exact same thing. The only difference is the intent. A good leader leads people for their own good, but he uses the same tactics as a good manipulator who does it for their own good. So I think it's the same thing with marketing. Is it's like, look, if you're selling something that is actually going to help people, that is giving them a value, then that's good marketing.
Yeah. If you're trying to sell to people who actually need it, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's completely ethical. I completely agree with what you're saying there. That's a good way of putting it.
When someone wants a refund because you've automatically charged them for the next year, right? then it's really hard to say that's for their good.
Yeah.
So,
that's where the sleazeball, then that's how you judge whether or not you're being a sleazeball. It's like, are you honestly trying to help people, or are you honestly trying to make a buck at people's expense? So you could, and I think a lot of people say, if anyone's ever trying to make a buck, well, they're a sleazeball.
Yeah.
But that's not true. Commerce happens because it's an exchange of goods, But
and I think most tactics are kind of ethically neutral.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of what you do with them.
Right. It's persuasion. It's not.
Yeah.
I think there's some forms of manipulation that aren't persuasive. They're forceful.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You put somebody in a position where they can't make a different decision. But yeah, the persuasive aspects and the tactics you use to argue points and things like that, yeah, they can definitely be used both ways.
Yeah, I guess maybe charlatan versus leader or something like that. Maybe that's the better dichotomy, but
yeah. Yeah.
And the whole automatic charging thing it's a big gray area, in my opinion. And the reason that I got upset at Lead Pages was not that they automatically charged me or charged Josh. It was the way they handled the situation and the request for a refund. And I mean, they clearly gave you the runaround and went entirely off the letter of the email that you wrote and said, no, we can't do exactly what you wanted, therefore we're not going to help you at all. When in reality, after some stink about it, did they end up giving you a refund?
Yep, I got my money back.
Yeah, so
it was prorated, but I got it back.
Right, which is what you wanted.
Yeah.
So it was the way they handled the situation that really bothered me.
They ended up getting more than $100 of my money because the way that they worded their refund policy on the website deterred me from asking for the refund immediately.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a company called Red Booth that does task thing, and it was 2 weeks after the Lead Pages fiasco we had on here, and they did the same thing, and I emailed them the next day and said, I'm not using it anymore. I'd like to cancel and give a refund. I got an email back that said, we canceled your account. And I'm like, yeah, the refund? And they emailed me back, yeah, we have a no refund policy. And I fought it. I disputed it with my bank.
Right.
I just made it as much of a pain for them as possible, and they still haven't given me my money back.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, look, you took my money, and I'm going to get no benefit from it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah,
I'm shutting down, still in the process of shutting down Signal Leaf, and last week I disabled the ability to create new podcasts or new episodes. You can't do anything. It's just riding out the last month.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody emailed me, one of my customers emailed me and said, "Hey, I had my my podcast transferred over to wherever, and I'm still getting charged for Signal Leaf. I thought I had canceled it." Well, I went and checked, and there was no evidence in the system that they had canceled it. But I emailed them back and said, "Hey, sorry about that. There may have been a bug or something in the system that didn't catch it, so I went ahead and gave you the refund, and I disabled your subscription, so you're not going to get billed anymore."
Right.
Taking more of a proactive approach, somebody was clearly using the service, was getting benefit out of it. I saw some traffic on their podcast, but you know what? It's a better situation for me long term if I take the friendlier approach, the approach that I would want another company to take.
Yeah.
And just give them the refund because they asked for a refund. They probably did attempt to close it. They may have actually seen a message saying, "Hey, your account has been canceled." I don't know, but I saw no evidence of that in my app, and I gave them the refund anyways because they asked for it.
That's the right thing to do. I mean, even if they didn't cancel, even if they just meant to and they forgot to, and they're
totally.
like their little white lie to you, big deal. So what? So you give them benefit of the doubt. You take their word for it because even if they're lying, who cares?
Right.
And you give them a refund, and that's it. I mean, if they now sign up again and watch me code, and they're like, if they're repeatedly trying to rip you off, that's a totally different thing. Then you just don't do business with that person. But I mean, if someone comes in and is going to whatever, that you just give them the benefit of the doubt because you can't buy goodwill.
Right.
But you can lose it
totally
easily. So
what does everyone have going on? I'm curious to see where everyone's at.
I feel like I've talked enough, so I'll let you guys talk.
Oh, we've all been chiming in on this one.
Yeah.
Let's start with Josh. He's always quiet.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So. What's going on for me? Things have been a little slow. I got a new client here starting up probably next week.
Nice.
And so I'm working. I think I've mentioned. Yeah, so I mentioned the agency that Ben Settle's ex-apprentice. Actually, she's his girlfriend now, which is part of the reason why he fired her. Because they started dating and things got it's complicated to work with somebody and be entangled with them.
I can see that. You define the relationship. Oh, and by the way, you're fired.
Yeah.
Let's just get this thing started off right.
Yeah.
You're fired.
So
now give us a kiss.
Yeah. So we're so she's putting together it's actually a pretty amazing group of copywriters. Hey John, do you remember a while back I sent you you guys a story, an email from a guy, and it was a story about how he was in college. He was a house painter, I think he was a house painter. But one of the guys that he worked with had this fantasy of showing up at the house
I remember that one.
and the housewife would greet him, and it was the steamy fantasy this guy had, and
he set up a prank with it.
Yeah, they staged the whole thing, and totally.
Boyfriend comes banging on the door.
Yeah. Well, that guy, his name's Troy White. He's in this group with me.
Nice. That's hilarious.
So he's a pretty well-known copywriter from Canada, and then we actually just got she just recruited another guy named Scott Haynes, who is before Gary Halbert would work with anybody to mentor them in copywriting, he required them to take a copywriting course, and it was Scott Haynes' copywriting course.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this guy's been around. He actually taught in the course with John Carlton that I took this spring, and he's fantastic. I watched him interact with the other students in that class. He's really, really good. So he's going to be joining us, and then we've got couple other, there's like 3 or 4 other copywriters, and we're going to be, she's going to do all the marketing, and then basically we just divvy up the work that comes in. So it's a great, it'll be a great piece. Yeah, it'll be a great piece of my funnel. And
so you're like a guild. You're in a guild.
Yeah, like actually, that's
copywriting guild.
That's a pretty good way to put it. She basically just asks us for our pricing, and she just marks it up and sells us as a package. So she's got like 3 or 4. You know, she'll like say, okay, this is a big project. Like the one we're doing now is going to be, it's like a online health summit. So there's a bunch of emails. There's some video sales letters that have to be written, some social media stuff. So we're just chopping up the pieces, and she parcels it out, and she basically prices it by our rates.
Nice.
So, yeah, so it's pretty sweet. So she's I've been kind of wondering if it was ever going to go anywhere because it's been taking a long time to get up and running, but it seems like she's got a lot of momentum behind it, and I think this is going to be a good steady source of business for me. It's pretty funny though, because so she actually has somebody from one of the biggest copywriting direct marketing companies is Agora, and there's 4, if you're in copywriting, there's like 4 companies that they call the A-list. One of them is Rodale, which is the company that puts out like Men's Health, Prevention Magazine, like a lot of the big well-known magazines. And then Agora is one of these A-list companies, and they're actually hiring her to her agency to try to beat one of their controls. So she mentioned that she's going to talk to Scott Haynes and Troy White, and then also me. I was like, okay, like I don't know, I'm not quite sure if I'm ready for that caliber of thing yet, but she seems.
You are now.
Yeah.
You're part of Ocean's 11.
That's right.
That's kind of what this is like. But yeah, it's been funny because I got Bob Bly is still on my email list. I found out.
Wow.
Because I noticed a quote from one of my recent emails in his newsletter. So I was like, oh,
he stole from you.
Yeah, no, he does every like couple times a month he does a roundup style newsletter where he quotes from different things he's read, and yeah, I was in there, and then Jody, the manager of this agency, she saw that in there, so so it's kind of that helped my status a little bit with the group.
Jeez.
Yeah, so that was actually pretty cool. I got a kick out of that. So yeah, I think I've come to the conclusion that I picked probably the worst time of the year to start prospecting and going after copywriting work, because I've heard now from multiple people that August is like the pits. It's the worst. And it's just been tough to get people to talk to me and get on the phone with them. And I've had a bunch of people that are like interested, but it's taking me forever to close anything with them. I've got I think I mentioned before the inventor guy that has like the inventor patent service that he does, and I think they're going to go ahead and work with me, but it's been like a month now, and it just takes a really long time to close the business. So yeah, I've been a little bit stressed out about that, but I think I finally have figured out at least for now, what my marketing strategy is going to be. I'm going to market myself to Infusionsoft consultants. So I'm going to be marketing myself exclusively as an email copywriter, because that's really what I like to do anyway. And so I'm narrowing that down, but then I'm going to promote myself to Infusionsoft consultants who have presumably a lot of clients who would need emails. So rather than going after the individual coaches or info entrepreneurs online, I'm just going to go after the people who manage all those people. I'll do their marketing for them. And what I'm doing is I'm pretty much using LinkedIn. I'm pulling down lists of people that that are into Infusionsoft or marketing consultants, and I'm sending out connection requests to them, and I'm actually getting about a 75% acceptance rate on those, which is pretty good. So there's about 1,500 people in LinkedIn that are doing Infusionsoft. So I'll have a pretty good reach to those people. And then what I've been doing is I published a couple of posts this week, or last week rather, on LinkedIn Pulse, which is so instead of I think that publishing status updates, which is what Edgar lets you do, that's pretty useless on LinkedIn because people don't really ever go to LinkedIn to check out what people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have found is that if I do these, you can publish posts on LinkedIn itself, and when you do that, people get a notification. So it's
like
almost
a blog post on LinkedIn?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to start writing a lot more emails and putting them into autoresponder series, and then every time I do one, I'm going to publish it on LinkedIn as a Pulse post.
Nice.
And if you get enough, so as my following grows, eventually I'll probably have enough to where it'll get picked up and shown. They have like channels, and so you'll get some extra exposure if they pick up your post, kind of like hitting Hacker News. So like just with the followers that I have now, I have about 670 people that are connected to me, and I can get. So I published those two posts last week, and I got a total of around 100 views on those, which sounds really pitiful. But when you figure that, if I have 1,500 people following me, and they're all people that I want to do business with, that is actually pretty phenomenal. So I could potentially have, 100 or 200 Infusionsoft consultants looking at what I'm doing every day. Like if I did a blog post, I could get 10,000 page views on it, and only 2 of those people would actually be people that could potentially work with me. But since I'm able to target them explicitly on LinkedIn, being able to get in front of 100 of those people is kind of the same effect as having a blog post that has this huge massive reach. It's a lot. It's kind of I'm going after on the 80-20 curve. I'm going after the 2% that I really want, instead of going for the mass exposure. It seems like it's working. Go ahead, Chuck. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say I think LinkedIn's a great place for you to be for that too, because my guess is that the top-notch Infusionsoft consultants are going to be looking for small business people on LinkedIn too.
Yeah.
So they're likely to already be there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm fortunate in that what I do, like the people that seem to use LinkedIn the most are marketing people and social media types. So I have a lot of overlap with those people. So so it's a good resource for me. For a lot of people, it would be complete waste.
Yep.
But for me, it's actually seems like a pretty good way to use my time. Yeah.
Now,
So then, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how many Infusionsoft consultants are also email copywriters? Because I would feel like if I was an Infusionsoft consultant, I guess there's different breeds. A lot of them are programmers that are writing writing plugins.
Infusionsoft is like super geeky. It's like way more complicated than anything we've used, and you actually do kind of need to be a programmer to really customize it.
Yeah. So if I were an Infusionsoft consultant, I'd be taking the approach of let me handle Infusionsoft so you can focus on the value of writing your emails and everything else.
Yeah, that's part of the story, though. I've talked to several Infusionsoft experts.
Do you know any that you could introduce me to?
Yeah, I know a few. I can definitely put you in touch with them. But anyway, most of them that I talk to, they're not just specialized in the software and how to customize the software and make it work, but they also specialize in building systems into your business that save you time and effort and we'll make you money. And
Yep.
so they really are marketing experts and
Yeah.
efficiency experts.
Mhm.
And so then so they need somebody like Josh, because they're not
Right.
focused that way. They're focused on,
Right.
look, let's squeeze your business here and here because it's gonna give us the juice we want.
Right.
They're the efficiency experts, like the two Bobs, so you can interview for your own job.
Nice.
Yeah, you're right, Chuck. And a lot of them actually are copywriters too, or at least decent at it, but they
Yeah.
just don't have the time.
Sure.
And if you've got 10 or 20 clients, to try to do that many emails, you're just never gonna be able to do it. So.
Well, the other thing is it's a low yield activity for them, right?
Mhm.
Because what they're looking at is they're going to come into somebody's business and they're going to look at it and they're going to say, look, we can make it so you spend 4 fewer hours doing this, and we can also make it so that it reaches 10,000 more people doing this, and overall we can streamline this process so that you make twice as many sales.
Mhm.
And that's where their big wins are. And so doing the copywriting and looking at the minute details of each campaign and things like that, that's really not their thing. Their thing is big picture, and then where can we go and exploit the capabilities here to make it pay off big. And so they don't want to be doing the copywriting. They want somebody else to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm going to be focused. I spent this week and I put together, I'm going to be working with my instructor from the Simple Writing System program, Lori. I'm going to be working with her as a coach, to coach me on the business stuff going forward. So she had me put together a sales page basically for my email service. So I got that all done. It's up there now. If you go to joshuaearl.com and click on Work with Me, I have like a big long sales page, and got some testimonials on there. I got video testimonials from a couple people.
Oh, nice.
And so basically, I'm going to basically be marketing a couple of packages of emails, like basically 10 emails, 20 emails, and then like a funnel package, which is like 10 emails plus, or 20 emails plus a sales page and opt-in page, and like kind of the whole deal.
Wait a minute. JoshEarl.com?
No,
some guy's Facebook page.
Not Josh Earl. Oh, does he have it going to his Facebook page? I gotta check this out now.
Yeah.
I hate this guy.
It's pretty awesome now. He's got
Whenever I hear people say that, I always just laugh.
He updated his profile picture.
So this guy.
Is he prettier than you or something?
Okay. Oh my goodness! Wow. I think I'll be nice to this guy.
Oh man, nice. His previous profile picture had middle finger flipping off the camera. That's cool. He seems like a. He doesn't seem like a sleazebag at all.
No. Oh my goodness. Wow. So, yeah, he's a trip. This guy. Yeah, he's got Josh Earl at Gmail.
Did he freeze for anyone else?
Yeah. I think Josh Earl is taking him out.
That's right. It's got him in the crosshairs.
At Josh Earl on Twitter.
There can only be one.
Yeah, I tried to buy JoshEarl.com from him. I think I offered him like $1,500 or something, and he wouldn't take it. So
what? $1,500, and he's pointing to his dumb Facebook profile.
Oh, for the longest time, he didn't. It wasn't even pointed to his Facebook profile. It was a 404, or it was like a He had it pointed to like some website that didn't even exist. Like it was a DNS resolve error. It just drove me crazy. So I mean, at least now he's doing something with it.
You should make him an offer again. I think he'll take you up on it.
No,
I think he maybe he's waiting for a better offer.
There is an Australian musician named Josh Earl. He has joshearl.com.au. So
that's unfortunate too.
Yeah,
those
maybe that guy's. Yeah.
Those are so valuable.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Go register joshearl.com, or sorry, joshearl.fu. Okay.
Fu.
Read it to the joshearl.com guy, because I think he will like joshearl.fu.
Yeah, I think you're right. Nice. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I got this sales page put together, and I'm gonna do a launch to my list. I'm honestly not really expecting to sell anything from doing that, but I kind of want to have. I'm tired of having conversations with people where they have no idea what to expect in terms of pricing. So this at least gives them some kind of anchor in their head, like, oh yeah, it costs $3,000 to get 10 emails written. Like, so if I have a little nonprofit, and I'm, I want to change the world with my 10 visitors a week, maybe this guy's not for me.
Dude, you've got a picture of you and Perry Marshall.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he wrote me a little testimonial. So.
Nice. Yeah, this is pretty rocking.
So yeah, so
that pool party must have been pretty awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty great.
Cool. Oh yeah, and you got video testimonials.
Yeah,
nice.
So Kevin, and those are both like high-level copywriters. So which isn't super like most of the people that will be seeing this page won't know who any of these people are. So I want to get some real customer testimonials up there soon. I've got a guy. Actually, John, you're on there.
Yeah. So yeah.
I've got another guy, the running coach client that I have. They're going to do a video testimonial for me. So.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can go with getjoshearl.com, but.
I should just grab that. That could be like my meeting, like my meeting link or something, like to reserve time with me. That's actually kind of a cool idea.
Where in the world is Carmen Josh Earl? Diego.
So that was a lot of work to put that together. So I'm kind of like, I actually have a little bit of time right now, so I'm coming back and like starting to build some of the behind the scenes stuff that I need. Like I need to do an email course, I need to make my front end email course to be something that naturally leads into a pitch for copywriting versus the giveaways thing. So I'm gonna write a myths about email marketing type of course to put out there. I'm gonna probably start that next week.
I love how you have it as a productized service now.
Yeah, that was Lori's suggestion.
Great. Yep.
Yeah, it was really good. So
Can they add it to the cart? Can they?
No, I decided to do because I honestly don't think anyone would just do a $3,000 PayPal transaction. Like
that's true. You need to talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah, there might be a few people. So what I did instead was I'm making them pay $100 to have a consultation with me.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's
so it's
great.
So
then you're taking money right away, and you're. Yeah.
So weed out
great.
the tire kickers, and I get $100 for a half-hour conversation, and even if they don't work with me. So I don't really expect anything to come of this for a while, but it's for me it's extremely helpful to just have it out there, and like people will come to my site and they'll be like, oh, okay, that's what that's kind of the ballpark that we're talking in terms of pricing. So it will be less of a shock to their system.
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially, I mean, it's really going to help too. Like, I mean, some people may have, like, in your customers potential might know who Perry Marshall is.
Yeah.
And they might have wanted to and realize how expensive he is, and then when they see you and Perry Marshall buddies there, and he's got a testimonial for you, they might be like, oh, well, just Josh guy. Like, I know who Perry Marshall is, and I Josh must be good too. So.
Yeah, hopefully. So, but I'll do a launch to my list, and then I'm not gonna get too worked up about that because I think most of the people on my list that I've talked to are, they opted in for my giveaway stuff, so they tend to be like bloggers, aspiring entrepreneurs, but not like we have a $10,000 or we have like a $20,000 a month business and we want to grow it type of people. But I have had, so I did find there were two people in the last couple weeks that I found on LinkedIn that I connected with that I actually found out I'd already talked to them and they were on my email list. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, like so one of the top Infusionsoft guys in the world is a guy named Wes Schaefer.
Uh-huh.
And he actually had replied. John, do you remember my? I think you replied to this too. I have an email where it's like you're trying too hard to sell your shit.
Oh yeah.
And it was a complaint I'd gotten off of one of my Sublime. Well, so Wes had actually replied to that email a while back and said, "Oh my gosh, like he thought that I was a customer of his that was complaining to him. Like, yeah, he was totally freaked out by the subject line, and yeah, he'd actually replied to my email, so we kind of already knew each other. So he's interested in maybe talking to me later about doing some work with him. So yeah, so I've gotten a few big fish through my my email course and my blog and everything. But I think the LinkedIn approach, I'm going to try to funnel everything. I'm just going to have like everything I post on LinkedIn is going to point back to an email course on my site. Try to drive people to my site. So yeah, so that's been good. And then the thing with Perry Marshall last week was great. It's so cool. It was so cool to meet him in person and like, okay, he's exactly who he portrays himself to be. Like, I spent the whole day with him basically, and it was me and 4 or 5 other people, 4 other people that were all volunteering on the same project with him, and yeah, it was great. We spent the day at his house, kind of like brainstorming strategy for the project, and I went out to lunch, and I told him I decided to go ahead and do that coaching program that I told you guys about, the USP coaching program, and so they assigned me David Deutsch, who's like the one of probably like the top 3 or 4 copywriters in the entire world.
Wow.
I mean, I mentioned the A-list companies before. He has had 6 or 8 simultaneous controls with those big mailers, which is no one else has ever done that in like the history of marketing. He's really, really sharp guy, and they assigned him, like, he's in this program with Perry, and they assigned him to me. So I told Perry, I was like, okay, so like I'm super, I'm nervous about doing this program, and I was really nervous because I was like worried that they were going to assign me some really good, top level guy, and then they gave me David Deutsch, and he like absolutely lost it. It was hilarious. Like he just thought it was the funniest thing ever. But then he's like, Josh, you absolutely have to do this. Like, you cannot back down from this. So he encouraged me to just go ahead with it, and so I'm going to be doing it.
So you're going to be teaching him helping him with the course, essentially.
Yeah,
like the
yeah, basically, yeah. So what?
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah, I know.
Interesting. That's
I
cool,
know.
though.
It is, yeah. I'd really like to meet him, and I talked to Lori about it too, and she was like, when I told her who I mentioned that he was one of my students, she's like, holy crap, I would be intimidated by that. She actually she knows him personally.
Yeah. Well, you know what's so awesome about that? Okay, here's this guy, probably one of the most successful people in his field, right?
Yep.
And what is he still doing? He's not smarter than everyone in the world. He's still getting training from someone else, right? He's still learning and not thinking that he knows everything. Like, you can see why that guy is successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually I found that to be the case with a lot of these really top-tier marketers, that there are definitely people that have really big egos that are just kind of obnoxious, but then a lot of the really, like, the best of the best are super humble, and they go to each other's seminars, and they're always learning. They sign up for coaching with each other. It's actually pretty amazing to see. Like, you don't see a lot of the ego, the egos going back and forth. But yeah, so the way this program works is, so Perry and his brother Brian teach the course via webinars, and then they assign us to copywriters, or they assign the students to copywriters, and they do a bunch of homework, and then the copywriters look at their homework and kind of help them piece together their USP. So I'll be helping him refine his USP, and then also interviewing him to pull out stories that he can use to reinforce it. So it'll be really interesting. It's going to be a group call, so we'll do I have 6 students, and we'll do three and three basically. So me and 3 other guys, and we'll be hashing through some of this stuff. But as like a lot of copywriters are just really bad at marketing their own businesses. So I'm actually not super surprised that he would sign up for a program like this, because it's tough to get outside of your own business. And for him, he's so well known that I imagine he probably doesn't have a lot of focus. He probably just has people coming at him from all different angles, and he's probably trying to figure out how he wants to focus down a little bit. Or he might be starting like a coaching program or something like that. So I don't know what his business, what part of his business he wants to work on. But yeah, Perry was basically, he's like, he knows a bunch of stuff that you don't know, but you know some stuff that he doesn't know, and you're not him, so you can still bring value.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know when that's. Probably we'll be doing those calls in the next couple of weeks, so I'll have to update you guys. But yeah, so it was I really enjoyed, but going to Chicago though was great. It was best day I've had in a long time. It was just a lot of fun, and the people that are in Perry's circle are really they're just really good, really high quality people. So I'm actually talking. Perry called his copywriter John Fancher while I was there and introduced me, and so I'm probably going to have some ongoing work with them, actual paid work. So because I've done 2 emails for Perry, and he was one of them, the first one he added a couple things, and the second one he just fixed a couple punctuation things, and he's like, this is fine. So he was pretty happy with them. So I'll probably be ghosting for him more. So it's been funny. I feel like I've got about 10 or 20 different things that are great and really big, potentially long-term things going, and I'm just waiting for one of them to actually, kind of come through. So that's my story for the week.
Dang, Josh, that's awesome. It's hard to top. That's awesome.
Yeah, not a lot of money coming in the door right now. So.
Yeah, but you're making such good connections.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, you have the potential to go from just starting out to well-known top copywriter, to make this huge jump, just because you're hanging out with the top copywriters. So if you keep on doing that, you're going to be one of them. So
well, I emailed Bob Bly after his he mentioned me in his newsletter, and I was like okay. So I thanked him, and then we had a little back and forth, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I'm like, hey, if you hear of anybody that needs some help with email, I'd love to talk to him. And he emails me back, smiley face. Well, I would refer them to me first, of course. And I was like, okay, well, I was kind of reaching there, so I emailed him back, and I was like, that would be a good call, kind of just, haha, silly me for asking. But then he actually replied, and he was like, but seriously, I actually will refer overflow work to you if anything comes up. And I was like,
that was awesome. Yeah.
Holy cow. And he's like, I know you'll take care of them if I do. So that was, so lots of good networking.
Yep.
I'm racking up those internet points. Have you guys seen? I've heard there's a South Park episode where one of the characters has a YouTube video, and that gets 4 million YouTube hits or something, and then they go to the bank and they try to cash in their internet points, and of course, it's worthless. Sometimes that's how some of the stuff feels, but I know it's gonna pay off.
Yeah, no, I think it will big time. I think you're on a rocket ship right now.
Yeah, well, and I'm actually really excited about like with Perry's stuff, he's been hanging out with Richard Koch, the guy who wrote the original 80/20 book, and that guy, he's taken a very specific approach to investing. He grew $4 million to $280 million over about 15 years, investing in 20 companies. And he has not had, like, every single investment that he's made has made him money. And he has a very specific approach to how he does investments and the types of companies that he will invest in. And Perry is trying to build one of those companies. So basically, I from what I'm seeing, it looks like Perry is really like kind of on a launch pad with his company. And for me to get in on the kind of, he's established now, but I think 5 years from now he's going to be 10 times as big. So for me to get in on that, that could be a really good thing too. So lots of good stuff happening.
Yep, when you're famous, I'm going to be like, I knew that guy.
Well, I mean, to the extent that copywriters are ever really famous, but internet famous.
There you go.
Somebody else talk.
Go ahead, Derek.
Sure.
I talked a lot last time, says Derekster.
Yeah. Well, counterpoint to Josh, I guess. I can't seem to catch a break lately. Between all of the health problems that my son's been having, and then this week, my daughter decided to get a triple ear infection.
Oh!
And
wow,
strep tonsillitis.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So the triple ear infection, how does that happen?
We went swimming last weekend.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess
4 hours.
How
in
do
the
you
pool.
have 3 ears? Was my question.
Well,
Inner ear.
Yeah, exactly.
Outer ear, and then another outer ear, probably. Or something.
Exactly that. Both outer ears infected from the swimming pool, and one of them developed into an inner ear infection. So, and then on top of that, strep tonsillitis. So she's been home all week. She is finally back at school today. And I am so freaking overwhelmed that I'm playing video games instead of working because I can't sit down and actually get anything done because I'm too stressed about having missed 2 months worth of work at this point in time. But I need to get some things finished. I've been in the interim. I've been writing blog posts, which is going really well. I had one super popular blog post last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that I guess it was 2 weeks ago, about building component-based web UIs, and I've more than doubled my monthly traffic for the month already with that blog post, and it's continuing to have long tail effects. I've added nearly 200 people to my mailing list in the last month, and well, actually I've probably added more like closer to 300 people to the mailing list in the last month, because that was 180 people through the SumoMe pop-up, which is doing frickin' amazing.
You're just using the pop-up, right?
Yeah, I'm just using the pop-up, not using the welcome mat yet. But like we were talking about earlier, that pop-up, that's one of the things that I swore I would never use.
Yeah.
Because I hate them. But it's like that Derek Sievers video. Screw them, because they're going to use it and they're going to complain and they're going to buy your stuff anyways. So yeah, that's actually going really well. I've added a lot of people to my mailing list, which is a very good thing. We had talked briefly on the mailing list about me setting up some autoresponder sequence with some of my best of blog posts, and I need to work on that. I have some questions about that I want to probably ask later, maybe on the mailing list if we don't get to them today. In general, I'm dropping things here. In general, sales on Watch Me Code have been stagnant. My subscriptions are I can type. I can't type and talk at the same time apparently, unless I'm recording myself. My subscriptions,
Which
I'm
you are, by the
up
way.
a few. Yeah, right. I am, by the way. Um, my subscriptions are up a few to 343, which is good. But more importantly, last month in August, I brought in 2,500 or 2,300 in sales, which was unexpected because I had, I emailed you guys about how I accidentally sent out
Okay.
a sales email to
Right.
to all of the people that had gone through my Mastering JavaScript This email course. I wanted to go in and adjust the sales pitch to be 3 emails starting on Monday, ending on Friday, with the classic, few days left, last chance. And when I did that, it sent out the you only have 2 days left email to 2,000 people on a Saturday. And that email on Saturday brought in $200. And then Monday rolls around and the "this is it, this is your last chance" goes out and it brings in another $300.
Nice.
So yeah,
Wow.
so that brought in an extra $500 for sales. And then my RabbitMQ course has
Had
been
those people
selling.
really heard from you, other than your weekly? They get your weekly stuff?
Yeah, they all of those people have been on my mailing list for potentially a year or more.
Okay.
So I mean, honestly, some of those people that was probably the first time they saw the pitch, but
Yeah.
most of the people, the vast majority of those people had already seen the pitch previously, and so it's got me thinking. This is probably somewhere along the lines of a lot of what we talked about before in terms of building trust and building a relationship with people. And some of these purchases that I had through this are going to be people that didn't know me previously, went through that email course, stayed on my mailing list, and have seen the kind of content and value that I provide, and now are willing to throw money at me when I do a pitch like that. So I'm thinking I need to adjust most of the pitches in most of my email courses to be an extended period of time like that. So instead of doing a hard pitch at the end, like the day after the end of the email course, which is what I'm doing now, maybe do a pitch right away still, but set up follow-ups for like a month later, 2 months later, when they've had more time to be on my mailing list to get to know me a little more, things like that. So there's going to be a higher likelihood of them being interested at that point.
So I was reading a really interesting study recently, like last week, and so there's a company that has access to. They have like a huge access to a whole bunch of like cross-industry databases, and they found that basically like there's so 50% of the people who opt in for a specific thing are going to buy it within the next 18 months.
Right. This is what I was saying.
So
Okay.
so there's so 50% will buy it from someone.
Right.
So okay, let's use something a little bit more concrete. Like if you're a real estate agent and you send out a postcard and people respond and say, "Hey, I'm interested in, maybe buying a house." Half of those people will buy a house within the next 18 months.
Right.
So there's a chunk, about 15% will buy. 15% of the people who end up buying something will buy within the next 90 days.
Right.
And then the rest of them will buy sometime within the next 18 months. And it may be from you, it may be from someone else, but there's enough interest there that they're going to buy this thing. So it's kind of both. It's actually like there's a big chunk of people that are going to want to buy right away, and you do need to. So you have to treat everyone. Ideally, you want to treat everyone as if they're going to buy today.
Right.
Yep.
And but then once they finish that, if they don't buy, don't just drop them off the end. Got to stay in touch with them, and over time.
Yeah,
pick up
and
more of those people.
what I need to do, I've got my campaigns set up poorly right now. But what I need to do is take that pitch. This was for um, the JavaScript This email course, and it's pitching a $64 screencast bundle at 50% off. So I got 32 bucks per sale. So what I need to do is take those pitches, move them into a separate campaign, and set up an automation rule so when somebody buys it, it takes them out of that pitch campaign. And at that point, I can extend the campaign. Here's the first week after you completed this course, I'm going to pitch to you. Yep. And then 3 months from now, oh look, you're getting the pitch again. And then 6 months from now, oh look. And once they buy, they're either going to buy it or they're going to unsubscribe or they're just going to ignore it. I don't care which, really. Yep. I prefer they buy it, but hopefully once they buy, they'll get off of that so they won't keep getting pitched the same one. I think that could be pretty effective. I think the emails that I wrote are also more effective. And I've learned a ton since I wrote those original pitches, and going in there and reading what I had previously, and in order to update it and split one pitch into 3, I was kind of horrified at how bad the sales pitch was. So clearly, I've grown a little in the last however long.
You have drunk more of the snake oil.
I have drunk more of the snake oil. I'm squarely blaming you and John. You guys are bad influences.
So that approach is interesting. That's exactly what I'm doing, essentially, except I'm not using campaigns. And this is, remember, I've been talking about this, like how when I do a sale every 3 months, I still get all these purchases. Like it's crazy. Like you must have heard this pitch like 5 times by now.
Right.
Why? Right. And I think the missing piece is what Josh said, which is that what it comes down to is sometimes you hit people at the point when they're ready to buy. And so it's just a time. Maybe they just had the money, they were waiting or whatever, and now you've reminded them, or maybe good timing.
6 months ago they weren't thinking, they thought that they were going to be in this cushy job for the rest of their life, and now they're like, oh, my boss is a jerk. I need to find another job stat. So
you could do it either way. You could either. It'd be interesting to think about, because now I'm thinking about maybe instead of doing quarterly sales is like a sale for everyone, maybe I should just do like after 3 months, and then another 3 months, and just have like.
I think you should do both, honestly, and I'm kind of thinking I'm going to do both as well, because I think I think you're more likely to make a sale of a specific product pitched from a specific email course. This is related to the thing that you originally signed up for, so there's probably a good chance that you're going to want to buy this. But I also think there's a lot of value in just doing a general sale to your general mailing list, because not everybody came in through one of these email courses, and there's probably some overlap in interest. I've got the JavaScript fundamentals that I'm trying to sell to people with this one, but I've also got the Node.js pro tips, the pro Node.js screencast course, which a lot of people, that's been my most popular course so far, has made me the most money for the least amount of work so far, and I need to start pitching that one again because it was extremely popular.
Derek, this might be an easy win for you. Do you have, are you offering the courses to people who sign up? So like on your JavaScript This course, do you offer those people the RabbitMQ course?
I don't, and we've talked about this before, and I need to do that, and I can probably do that as a follow-up course on its own.
Yeah, well, it could just be as simple as throwing another email on the end of the sequence and saying, hey, I've got this other thing, click here, and you'll automatically get it, and then just puts them into the next one.
That's a pretty good idea.
I do wonder a little bit with the approach of having the, it's been 3 months since I last emailed you sale versus the, hey everybody, I'm having a sale.
Yeah, totally.
Are you going to be hitting people too often, or there's going to be like, oh, his stuff's always on sale, I'll just get it whenever?
Yeah.
The other thing
that's a risk, but
I also wonder if you might want to segment your audience and see if you hit them after a month or 2 months or 3 months, see what generally tends to convert better.
Although it's funny, we've never tested the limit. We've never found the limit of sending too many sales emails. It's kind of funny because we're always like dancing around the limit, and we keep on pushing the border further and further out, and it just seems like it's never, like, I know there has to be a limit somewhere. I think if you send someone 10 emails in one day about your sale, that they will probably, like, it'll probably have a negative return. But I'm not so sure that one email a day for infinity might actually be the most optimal strategy. It might actually be. In fact, there's like this company called Land and Sea Market, like in Tampa, that I signed up for their mailing list, and they have like a week. They have the same sale every single week, and every single week they send me the sale. And I don't unsubscribe. I keep looking at it. I'm like, oh, I should go buy some meat today.
Well, so the daily emails thing. I mean, that's Ben Settle's approach, and he did a promotion. He was selling a $2,000 video series recently, and I think he sent 8 emails in one day.
Wow.
And it was like he sent 17 emails in 3 days or something like that. It was 17 emails in like 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
And he killed it with that sale. Now his audience is conditioned to expect a lot of emails, and I mean some markets aren't going to tolerate that, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like it's not so if you do email every day, what's going to happen is you are going to, in my opinion, you lose people that would buy otherwise.
Yep.
Eventually.
Yeah.
You're basically catering to the top 10% of your list, the 10% that are the most interested, and everybody else will unsubscribe, which is, that's fine for a lot of businesses. That might be what they want to do, but there is still I think there's still a lot of room in the people that are less interested, but they're not the hyper responders, but they're they're also not like the bottom quarter.
It seems like if you're selling one $10,000 product, that would be at the extreme. You just have one product, it costs $10,000. Emailing as much as possible would be like optimal strategy, because who cares? Like, if they don't buy it, then okay. And then on the other side of the equation would be you have 50 different products and they're all $10.
Yeah. Yep.
So those guys, you don't want to.
Yeah, or you've got 50 different products and they're all at different price levels.
Right.
And you want to filter people out. Let people filter out and find the place where they want to be and the price level that they want to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of more complicated, but.
Yeah, but it's been interesting to see the effect of accidentally making an extra $500.
Oh darn!
And my RabbitMQ course has been selling approximately one a week for a while now, which is good.
Cool. And that's just off of the emails?
I don't know. Most of the sales last month had a discount code from a podcast.
Okay.
Either the JS Jabber or the .NET Rocks, but it's been surprisingly few sales overall from any podcast discount codes, which I'm kind of surprised at. But I've had a fair number of full price sales. Just people not using a discount code, people that weren't on my mailing list. So I'm not sure where they're coming from, unfortunately.
They're probably just going to your blog. Can you? Oh yeah, they're not on your mailing list, so you can't really check the drip to track them. But I mean, you can use Google Analytics to sort of get an idea. You can look at the flow
if you have Google Analytics set up to track that appropriately. And I know there are ways to track these things, see where people are coming from, but
they're probably clicking products and they're probably seeing it and then they're buying it. I would guess
it's certainly a possibility, and I do have the worst possible placement for an ad ever in the top right corner of the content, but it's there. There's the products links. I've been blogging twice a week for the last month, almost a month now, and that's been driving a lot of new traffic and a lot of new email subscribers, and so there's a lot of potential places where people are coming from in order to get here, and it's not selling as much as I would like. I would like it to sell more than one a week, but at this point, one a week is still pretty good. And if I can bring in an extra $2,500 a month off of product sales like this, then combine the almost 3,000 with 2,500, and I'm looking at just about making my entire family's income needs for the entire month just off of Watch Me Code.
Nice.
So
and that's and if you're selling one a week, here's the thing: is like that's really good. Like if you can consistently sell one a week, that means that if you increase your traffic, then you will increase your.
It's a question of figuring out which traffic source is making the sales, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you're increasing your...
Well, it does matter if it's a podcast appearance that he can't repeat.
Right.
Well, that's why I said if you're consistently selling one a week. So.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing
I don't
is
think they're coming from podcasts.
It may just be a slow burn, word of mouth that is hard to really track right now, but maybe it'll pick up some momentum and you'll figure out where it's happening.
Yeah.
If people are buying full price, though, they're clicking on your website and buying it,
or Twitter, because I'm still tweeting it. I have ads, not paying for Twitter ads.
Yeah.
But I have spots in my Edgar rotation to advertise it. So there's a lot of different places, and for the last few times
Google Analytics.
Yeah. The last few times I've Edgar has tweeted the full bundle. I've seen some fairly well-known people, fairly high follower count retweets, including Cloud AMQP, the hosting service I use, and also
Nice.
Old Sound, Alvaro Videla, the author of RabbitMQ in Action.
Derek, one thing you might want to do too to get some of those people paying attention to you would be: do you have any posts or in your Edgar rotation where you're just retweeting other people's stuff?
Yeah, a lot, and
Okay.
I'm constantly adding more.
Are you mentioning them when you do that? Okay, perfect. That's what I was gonna say.
So how are you working that? Do you just
That's the
find
question
people
a different
you
way.
like and then you just put them into Edgar?
Yeah, that's literally what I do.
So and so, blah blah blah.
If I think it's content that is going to stand the test of time,
Yeah.
like if there's an announcement, NPM 2.0 released today, I'll tweet
Edgar.
it myself.
Right.
But that doesn't go into Edgar. If there's something, well, let me just pull up my.
I came up with a cool little hack for this too.
I've got, where's my library? I've added a bunch of stuff recently. Actually, a bunch of this is auto added. Dang, where's my? I haven't added anything from other people in a while. That's not good. I need to do that. But I've got stuff in here for for JS Jabber. Here's one. Listen to some great questions and discussion about. Well, dang it, that was me again.
Yeah.
Okay. Other people's tech stuff. That's what I need to click on. I have an entire category in Edgar just for other people's tech stuff, and it's a bit skewed right now because Watch Me Code has like 200 things in its category, and my other people's tech stuff has 82 things in it.
Right.
So there's the fallacy of reuse from Udi Dahan on why we should focus on primary use, not reusing things.
Which is ironic, being that it's an Edgar.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
5 little-known facts about JavaScript ES5 object literals. Messaging, So I've got all these things in here. Professor Frisbee's Mostly Adequate Guide to Functional Programming by @Dr. Boolean. So I'll put things in here, and I'll mention the person that wrote it, and I'll have something interesting to say about it, or maybe sometimes it's just the title because the title itself is interesting enough. And so I've got a lot of things in here, and I'm always looking for new things to add in here, mentioning people whenever possible. I've gained my own follower count doing that because I get a lot of retweets when I tweet other people's stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also get a lot of thank yous from especially from people that don't have a huge audience. because I'll put stuff in there from lesser known Twitter people or lesser known bloggers, and send it out to 7,000-8,000 people, however many followers I have at this point, and it gets a lot of retweets, and people are very thankful for that.
So my little hack for this is I use Pocket for like stuff that I want to read,
Right.
and so I set up an if this then that rule so that whenever I tag something in Pocket as Edgar, it adds it to a Google spreadsheet. So I've got the title and the URL in a spreadsheet, and then every so often I just go through. I'm going to pay somebody on Fiverr to just go through and find all the @handles for
that's
articles,
smart.
and then just boom, import them into Edgar, and I'm done.
Yep, that's great.
So,
I was trying to figure out because like when I was buffering stuff, I was like, but then I want to add someone at it, but I don't I don't know where their Twitter handle is, and then the stupid buffer page is in my way, so I can't. So that's smart.
Yeah. I'd like to be able to just go through and like star tweets or something, and then have them added to my Edgar or something.
Edgar doesn't have any kind of integration yet with IFTTT.
Yeah.
We should get on them about that.
Yeah. Laura, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
She's gonna be on Freelancer Show in about a month.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Nice.
So,
Get on her about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Laura
All right.
Roeder.
Yeah.
So I've got a podcast question for you guys.
I don't know anything about
killing
podcasts.
Get Up in Code.
All right.
I tried to make it a panel, and we're supposed to record today, but no one showed up. Or like no one has volunteered. I've got like 10 people on the list, and no one is committed to showing up. But like a couple of people said that they could probably make it today, but like I'm not getting like the kind of traction that I need. I've got Eric is doing. Eric who's editing this. He's doing the Get Up in Code. Like he's in charge of getting the group together, scheduling it, and getting and then recording it using Call Recorder, and then sending it to my VA. So like it's not a lot of work for me if I can get it going, but I don't know. I'm sort of like it doesn't generate any money. It costs me money. Because especially now, I'm paying Eric obviously to do it, but it really doesn't generate any money. And I don't know, it's got a decent sized following, but I've sort of run out of topics to talk about too. It's like I've already said everything I know about fitness.
If I were in your shoes, I would stop actively producing shows, but I wouldn't kill it.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it ride for a while, and I mean it's going to have a long tail for getting people into your content essentially, and there are going to be people that listen to back episodes for an extended period of time, and if you at some point in the future suddenly have inspiration to do an episode, well, you still have the platform to do the episode. You don't have to. You don't have to do it every week in order for it to be valid. You can do it, whenever you feel like doing it. There's the Dev Hell podcast that I was on recently. They record a show whenever they feel like it, and they've had like 65 episodes in 4 years, and they get a pretty good listener size, and they have some pretty good sponsorship. And their audience and their sponsors understand that they record when they want to, not on a specific schedule.
I guess that's true. Oh, go ahead.
One other thing you could do is just get somebody who is, if you don't want to be the person coordinating everything, find somebody who wants the platform and is willing to do all that for you, and have them go find the people who are going to show up every week.
If only there were some kind of developer-focused chat, almost like a TV thing that you could submit this to and have them take control over it.
Well, I'm actually taking on shows that I don't coordinate and produce now.
Right.
And but that's the thing is that somebody came to me and said, hey, I really want a show on web security, and so we have web security warriors, which incidentally Eric has been editing those, and then we have React Native Radio, and it was just somebody who came and talked to me and was like, I want to do a show, and he found all the folks and got them all fired up, and they're showing up every week, and that's what's happening there. And so, if you can find somebody who, is passionate about what you're talking about and wants to get this stuff together, knows a few people that they can pull in, and then you could just show up and be on the panel, and you can pay to get them edited and produced. That might be worth it.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind, though, is you're actually changing the format of your show, so you may want to consider making it a new show. And you may be able to get some traction off of that, too, and just say, look, I'm looking at starting a new show. Here's what it's about. Do you want to be part of the initial group? And that may attract different people and people who want to, be involved from the start.
That's true, and I haven't had the time to really reach out to the people yet. So maybe I should. Let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
My first job out of school was at a college, and I worked in the alumni office, the fundraising office, and then it was we'd put together these alumni events, and the class reunions and stuff, and the difference, it was stunning the amount, the difference that one enthusiastic cheerleader could make.
Yeah.
So you sometimes
absolutely.
you'd get one person that would be organizing it, and they would just be dynamite. They'd be really reaching out to everybody and pushing it hard, and the rooms would be packed. I mean, there'd be everybody from that class would show up, and then you'd go to the next one, and it was the next year, so same number of people, and there'd be 20 people there, and they'd all be staring at their shoes, I'd look for, I like what Chuck was saying, I'd look for a champion, somebody who's really organized and energetic and really excited about it, and is gonna ride herd on people if to make the panel thing work. I think you need somebody like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I kind of had Eric, but Eric's not in the developer space, so he doesn't know the people. That's the only problem. He's good at getting the panel together once I have it, but I need someone that's going to pull to the people that are in the dev space and know who to reach out to and find people for the panel, I guess.
Yeah, the other thing is that I am actually working on right now, because I have 2 shows that are coming into devchat.tv that have kind of been pulling stuff together. I'm actually working on basically a manual for this kind of podcast that I can hand off to them and say, look, do this stuff, so that your podcast will run.
So here's an interesting thing. Let's talk a little bit about this. See if you're interested, Chuck. So what do you think about working out something for you to take Get Up and Code and do some kind of split on it? Because right now it doesn't I don't have any real revenue from it, but it gets about 5K downloads a month. Not a huge amount, but pretty decent.
But you've also been you kind of neglecting it.
Yeah.
Right. So
I
that's
think
what iFreaks gets every month, is about 5K downloads every month.
What does?
iFreaks.
iFreaks. Okay, so it's about the size of iFreaks, and you make some advertising revenue from iFreaks, I'm assuming.
Not a lot. I only have one sponsor on there right now.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's as much the market as anything else.
Well, the fitness market is actually a pretty good market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I think that's as much the market as anything else.
But perhaps we could work out some kind of split where I essentially give you, it becomes part of DevChat TV. You have control over the show, you're the producer or the syndicate network of the show. I still have some ownership of it, but you're basically getting the sponsorship and getting the running it through your system of how your other shows work. I'm showing up to do some of the hosting, as a panelist and help set some of the direction. But essentially we figure out whatever the commission that you can get advertising, and then we have some kind of split on that.
Yeah, I've been doing that with, like I said, with these other shows, but I've been having other people coordinate them.
Which would be fine,
yeah.
If you have someone else do it.
Yeah, but it's an interesting, and I'm going to talk about something else that I've been thinking about for a while here in a second, related to this. But it's definitely interesting. It's an audience that I don't actually have to go build. I don't have to go help somebody else build it.
Right.
Because it can just pick up and be part of the network. My thing is that I don't have time to coordinate another podcast, but I have actually worked things out where it's I get a cut of the sponsorship, and usually what it is it's a specific percentage after whatever costs are incurred just to run the show. So,
right.
If, for example, with Web Security Warriors, I said, look, you don't have any sponsorship, I can't afford to pay to have it edited. So you've got to do all of that stuff, and then if you want me to manage having it edited once we have sponsors, it'll pay for it. Then I'm happy to do that, and then after those costs are paid for, then I get a certain percentage, and you get a certain percentage. And I did the same thing with React Native, and so while we don't have sponsors, it's their problem to get it edited. They're paying for it, which they're happy to do. And then, once it kind of comes into the fold and we have sponsors on it, then it's like, okay, well, do you want me to, because I don't mind coordinating stuff with Eric, because mostly it's, okay, this is the Dropbox folder you've got to watch, and this is where all the finished stuff goes.
Yeah.
And so, that's not a horrible deal. And then all they have to do is coordinate topics and guests and anything else that comes along. So it's definitely something I'm interested in. The idea that I've had that's similar to this is I've actually thought about approaching tech companies and saying, look, you specialize in this, your target market is this, and
right.
So why don't we make a show for your target market, and you can pay me every month to run the show for you.
Exactly, yep.
And so, I figured there are a few companies out there that would definitely benefit from that. And so then it's the web widget, show, and it's sponsored by widgetsrus.com, and so the sponsorship is you're paying me to produce the show for you.
Exactly. That's a great idea.
And I provide a host and the editing and everything else, and I just do that. But
let's see. I mean, if you're interested, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you're interested, let's see if we can work something out, because I hate to just can the show or even have it go into dormant mode, because if I go into dormant mode, it'll lose all the listeners, and there's a lot. I mean, there's a pretty decent amount of listeners for this show.
So let me put this out there, though. I mean, so you have Get Up and Code, and you have a bunch of people listening. What are you expecting to get out of it? Because I mean, you can get money from the sponsorships, but for right now, where it's not making anything, and for the first little while, you're probably not going to make a lot. What do you want to get out of it? Are you looking to get traffic to simpleprogrammer.com? Are you trying to sell more how to market yourself? Is it just kind of an interesting thing and you just don't want to let it die because you've got time invested in it? What are your reasons for wanting it to continue?
That's a good question. I guess because it's an interesting thing. I like to have a thing. I feel like it's good to be able to help programmers in the software development community get healthy. So that's kind of where I started. And then it eventually could make some money later on. I'd be happy if it really just paid for itself and maybe generate a small amount of income.
Yeah.
I could see potentially doing a product for it, at some point. That was that's where I've always wanted to like is here's a workout plan or something like this would be a very easy market to sell a product into.
Right.
So I think that's the long term. Which again, if we did something, we could do sponsorship, and then if I built a product or something, we could do some kind of a split on there.
Yeah.
But that's kind of in the long term. At this point, like the decision, like is just at where it's at right now. It's like I don't want to kill it because of it's like there's an audience, there's people there. It seems like a waste to just kill it, but I don't really want to do it anymore. Like because it's not worth my time. Because I kind of got to the point where it's like, well, if I can pay someone to sort of organize the thing, and then I just show up and it's I don't even have to worry about recording. Someone else is recording it. That's what Eric's doing. Then that makes sense. But I'm having trouble getting the actual like panel together, which maybe I am traveling. I have been like not had time. Like maybe if I had a solid week of just sitting down, finding the right people, messaging them, and getting it squared away, I could get a solid panel put together.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think we should just talk about it maybe offline and just see, okay, here are the goals, here's what we want to get out of it, here's who we can bring in to make it, get to that point, and that kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, and I also felt like the other nice thing would be like if it does go like part of your Dev Chat TV, then maybe we'll be able to find actually more listeners as well, just because there'll be a benefit there as well. But
right, well, and that's
growing,
the appeal
right,
to me is that it's an area of content we don't cover. It adds something to the network that I think is interesting, and so that's kind of the draw for me, and it could be a source of maybe a little bit of income. So
yeah.
Chuck is the Rupert Murdoch of podcasts.
I've developed podcasts.
Yeah, actually, if that were, it'd be interesting too. If that worked out, I'd wonder if, like there's certain, like for the Simple Programmer podcast, I have pretty much like handled as far as the full, because I'm not actually producing it separately. It's YouTube videos and interviews, but I don't have any advertisers on it. It's just I don't have time to find advertisers, so that would be another possible like if we could get this going, I would gladly move the podcast in and split a revenue with you to because I'm losing the opportunity because if I had time, I could find sponsors for Get Up and Code and for Simple Programmer podcast, definitely for Simple Programmer podcast, but I just haven't had the time, so I'm losing all this money essentially. Whereas this is what you do, so if and you've got access to a wider network of the advertisers, because you can bulk sell your you can say, well, here's 100,000 subscribers instead of 1,000 or 10,000. So I don't know. There's some. I think there's some good possible opportunities there.
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of wanted to talk through something really quickly, and that's just that I am super burned out. Just because
hey, you should have said that before I said this.
No, it's okay. Just because mostly what I would do is I would say, hey, we're looking at taking on this show, and are you interested in sponsoring with my current sponsors and people who have expressed some interest, and see what happens, and go from there. But
Chuck, real quick, but on that, like, how have you explored this as like? How aggressively have you tried to get other podcasts? Because what you're doing
super aggressively
scales really well, it seems like.
Yeah.
And like you have a pretty cool USP here because you've got all these, you have access to all these, like we're talking in 10 minutes, right? about sponsorship, and you've got that, and you're like probably the only person in the world who has that in this area, in this niche, and you could pretty easily, I would think, extend that.
You mean the advertising arm of things?
Well, I mean like the content side of things. Like you could gobble up a lot of people because you have access to all these sponsors,
Right.
who are looking for places to advertise.
Yeah.
And
I have thought about that. I've also thought about, because right now I sell sponsorships per show, and I've thought about saying, instead of, so JavaScript Jabber, let's say, it gets around 250,000 downloads every month. So then we're probably talking about 40 to 50,000 listeners, give or take. Let's say it's 30,000, but in aggregate across all of my shows, it's 100,000.
Right.
So then it's okay. Do you want to buy, 100,000 impressions instead of,
right.
per
That
show?
should at least be an option.
I'm thinking I may offer it. The issue is that like JavaScript Jabber, all of the sponsorship spots are now full, and they've been full for about 3 months, and I don't foresee that changing. But like Ruby Rogues had a gold sponsorship open up, and so I've been toying with some of the ideas around that.
You could always sell it. You could always sell it 6 months out, or like if you want to buy the big package, you've got to get in line.
Yeah,
that's true.
But
I'm playing with all kinds of options there, because that's interesting. I'm starting to get people saying I want to sponsor the show for a month, and because I'm looking for people to hire, and and I'm like, well, right now I'm only really selling them quarterly, and so I'm looking at different ways of managing, job listings. That's low impact for me, because I really don't want to take on another thing.
Well, there's been a pretty popular upsurge recently in community-based sites having job forums on the site directly. So clearly GitHub and Stack Overflow have them, but a lot of smaller sites too.
Yeah.
Ember.js, I think, or Laravel, I know, has a job posting, a job board for people that work with Laravel. You could have potentially a pretty big community hitting devchat.tv and a job board there where you sell a job ad for $100 and then give companies add-ons to keep it at the top of the list and make it have extra colors so it stands out more and things like that.
I've looked at a lot of those options. I also looked at like Top Ruby Jobs is run by the folks that do Code School.
Right.
And so I think it's $197, and you get a mention on the Ruby 5 podcast. You also get put into the ad rotation on the page, like the text ad, and then you get listed on their website and stuff like that. And I'm looking at doing something similar. I actually have a little bit different take, where I'm not sure that I want to just. I could put a job board up, but what I really kind of want to do is do like a mailing list. And so, it's hey, you're going to have your spot sent out, so if you pay for a month, you get your spot sent out once a week for an entire month. And so then the people who subscribe looking for jobs, they get, and it's going to be newest to oldest unless you pay that premium to be listed on top. And just stuff like that. And just kind of see where that goes. And so it's basically a marriage of email marketing and job listings, and I don't have to build another section onto my and I don't have to build another section onto my website to make it work.
I don't know if that could turn out really well, but I personally wouldn't sign up for that. If I were looking for another job, I wouldn't want to get emails about job offerings, because chances are a lot of people are going to only have their company email address. Or that's the primary one that they use, so you don't want to get job ads sent to your job.
That's true.
People want to get Ashley Madison messages sent to their .gov address, apparently.
but
wow.
Yeah.
I'd say try it out, but I personally wouldn't sign up for an email list to get job ads.
Well, some people do it, like from RubyNow.com, for example.
Yeah.
You get emailed when there's a new job listing there on their job board. So I know that some people are doing it, and I know that it's been working for freelancers, but they're a little bit different situation. So, because we talked to letsworkshop.com, and he sends out email leads basically, and and so people pay to be on the list, and then people also pay to get listed because they're going to have top end people who are willing to drop money to get notified, reach out to them, and so they're going to get good quality leads on freelancers who can do the work. So I don't know. I was thinking something along that model, but yeah, I'm toying with a lot of different things, but I could use a sponsorship spot at the beginning of the show to actually talk about 2 or 3 jobs instead of just one advertiser, and it would diversify my income a little bit, because then I don't have one sponsor leave and then I have to go find somebody else. Which is funny because I was out looking, because like I said, I had a sponsorship spot open on Ruby Rogues, and those are usually hot. I'm probably going to fill it within a week. And so I'm out looking around for that, and I landed a sponsorship for Adventures in Angular instead.
Nice.
But Chuck, do you track, do you have a CRM or anything that you use to track people who express interest in sponsoring?
Right now it just sends me an email. So they fill in the form, and then it sends me an email.
But I mean, you should be collecting those names somewhere. Yes. You are doing that? Yeah,
I need to go and actually just mine my email and collect that information.
Yeah, because if
put it all in one place.
What you could do would be with a tool like Contactually, Contactually, you could pretty easily, if you've got everybody tagged, you've got 100 people that have expressed interest, you could send if you have a spot open up, you could send an email to all 100 of those people, and you'd have it filled in an hour.
Well, the other thing is that I'd like to be able to reach out. So with starting these new shows and some of the other things, since I'm renewing sponsorships quarterly, I could send the email out September 1st, and it says, hey, you've contacted us about sponsoring. Here are the current sponsorship openings as far as we understand, for the next quarter, and then people can come in and pick those up. And it would go to current sponsors too, and instead of saying that, it would say thanks for sponsoring. Here are the openings on the other shows.
Yep.
And I think that list would be the real value there, and I could also then go and say I've had these other opportunities that I've picked up, and so if you're interested in any of those, then but I definitely need to do that.
Stop giving Chuck more work. He's burnt out.
I am so freaking tired. I'm seriously. I told Mandy, I was like, I'm not doing any podcast next week. Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm like those are my days off. My wife has a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, and I have a couple of calls with podcast listeners, and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
On Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm probably on Tuesday. I looked at my wife and I said, we've cut everything to the bone for the budget. I said, I've got a little bit of cash in my wallet. I'm gonna go see a movie. I just, I'm so just done.
Good for you, man.
But I have been pushing it all the way to the wall for about 2 months, and I need some downtime.
Yeah.
And it's as much the mental downtime as it is I could go sleep for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
So I just need the relaxation and just to kind of get away from everything and just turn it all off for a little while. So. And
I feel the same way about my kids right now. Just with all the health problems and sick, and it's not stopping either, because I've complained about not getting any work done for the last 2 months, and it's not stopping because Monday they have school off, and then Tuesday I have to drive my son to Fort Worth for a specialist doctor appointment.
Right.
And then next week I'm driving him back to Fort Worth for another specialist doctor appointment, and then the day after that he's got another appointment here in town, and it's never ending, and I can't be around people that much. There's a reason I do well working at home.
One thing, Derek, I think that might help your situation a little bit is just to, because you mentioned you're getting frustrated playing video games because you don't have enough time to actually get stuff done. Like it's that whole like the mountain of work procrastination pile of crap thing. I totally relate to it. But like look at your schedule realistically, what it is going to be next week. Like you know where you're going to have to be, like all those things that you mentioned, and then just block out plan those days specifically so you know I have 2 hours here. Right, so you know where your time is that you're actually going to work, and then take everything that you have and then just like shave it down and say what is the most critical things I need to work on, and then just fill in those slots until you're done, and then the rest of it you just can't do, at least so. Then you have like a hope because it's like I think the idea is that you need to be able to have like to accomplish something that you set out to do. And when you've got like this mountain of stuff and you've got this ridiculous schedule, it's just frustrating because you don't feel like you can ever get anything done. But if you just like set the bar super low and then have it, exactly what you're supposed to do. At least that's what I do when I get into that situation. Is I just reset, set the bar super low, know what my hours are going to be. Okay, I can only do 10 Pomodoros this week, or whatever it is. Like, this is what I have. This is what I have to work with. And then you can actually accomplish that and feel successful again because, like, you're in this, I don't know, like, I'm just going on what I think, but you're in this downtrodden mood because you're, like, constantly failing, like, because you can't actually get stuff done. So you're beating yourself up, feeling bad about it. So you need a win. So, like, set the bar extremely low and get a win so you can get momentum going the opposite direction.
Yeah. The big problem that I've had in the last few weeks is I need extended periods of time where I can concentrate, and that's not possible when my kids are home.
Sure, that's true.
So even with the time that I knew I did have available, I could only do blog posts. I could only do an hour of client work, which is basically 15 minutes of work by the time I actually get into things. I could so it's not. You're right. I do need to do that next week, especially since I know what time I am going to have.
Yeah. Not 2 hours. It's like
I need extended blocks of time in order to accomplish the things I need to accomplish.
Your problem is you don't have any Pomodoros, right?
Yeah.
Because like a Pomodoro is uninterrupted work.
Exactly. And I in the last 2 months I have not been able to do that at all. Mm-hmm. It's been extremely difficult. My wife took the kids into my son's bedroom to watch movies on our laptop while I was across the house in my closet with every door in between us shut so that I could have 2 hours to plan and record a single screencast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it's come down to, and we're probably going to do the same thing again tomorrow because I've only got one screencast left.
I'm picturing Derek going through his house, like shutting the door, locking it, like propping the chair under the doorknob, going to the next door, shutting it
to keep noise out, and I mean, quite literally, yes, that's what I had to do. That's what it's come down to in order for me to be able to accomplish the things I need to accomplish.
Yeah. One other thing that I do sometimes is I just started using Basecamp to keep track of my to-dos. And anyway, one thing that I do sometimes is I will actually identify the tasks that I can do when I only have a few minutes.
Right.
And then I just make sure that I get some of those done. And what that'll do is it basically sets it up so that even though I was like, I've been running around all day and I don't feel like I got anything done, but I checked off like 4 things on my list and I just feel like I accomplished something.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, before we wrap up, there is one thing I want to talk to you guys after the call about off the call. So.
Okay.
We're in trouble.
That's right.
I guess we should
really naughty, John.
I didn't even get to tell you guys how expensive Iceland is.
As compared to what, London?
Yes, it's more expensive than London. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Oh, like a small island where they have to import everything. It's not.
John's daughter needs to stop putting her shoes through wood chippers.
Seriously.
No $800 pair of shoes.
$1,000 shoes every day.
Those shoes got ruined. Those expensive ones from Paris. Yes, I saw that again. Crazy. Go to a hamburger place. It's like 30,000 kroners. I mean 3,000 kroners for a hamburger, which is like $28.
Oh wow!
Holy cow!
What? Yes, exactly. It's like, and that was a cheap restaurant. So crazy.
Wow.
Yep. So should we do thoughts, or does somebody else have something to talk through?
I guess we should probably go to thoughts so we can wrap it up.
All right.
I'll go. I guess I got one.
Yeah.
Somebody, maybe one of you guys or somebody else, I don't remember. Somebody said to me recently, or said on, I don't remember where recently, if you want your business to grow and change, you have to do things that you have not done before.
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep doing the same thing and expect things to change. And I think I'm in that spot right now with Watch Me Code, and I need to figure out whether it's just the marketing that changes or whether it's the format and other things that make up Watch Me Code. Figure out what needs to change in order to grow.
Change is freaking hard.
Yeah, it is.
I have a related thought, and that is I was listening to the Ziglar podcast. It's actually hosted by Kevin Miller.
Zig Ziglar?
Zig died.
He's dead.
Anyway, one thing that they kept saying over and over again on one of the episodes I listened to was, you talk about that you would die for your wife or you would die for your kids, and then they said, but would you change for them?
Right.
Would
you live for them?
So, will I start doing the things that will keep me in good health for years to come so I can be there for my kids? Will I change my lifestyle so that I can spend more time with them? Will I quit doing the things that are bad for me? Will I quit bad habits so that they don't emulate them? I mean, those are hard things. It's a completely different thing than jumping in front of the bus and pushing them out of the way.
It's easier to bleed than to sweat.
Yep. So, yeah, I've kind of been thinking about that off and on for the last week.
Damn, I want my thought to be it's easier to bleed than to sweat. No. Mine would be, mine's not quite as philosophical this morning, but mine is do not update your Linux server before you're supposed to go somewhere, because it's not like doing Windows updates. Okay, when you do Windows update, the crap doesn't. You just go on living. You just reboot and you're done. When you do a Linux update, all your shit breaks. It just all breaks. Your server's down, your website's down. Yeah. So it's not something that you're like, fine, just give me 2 minutes. I'll be right there. I'm just gonna do apt-get update. Don't. No.
Oh, man.
3 hours later.
I tried to do an in-place upgrade of Ubuntu on my server, and fortunately I had a backup. Because that didn't go too well.
I was almost gonna get a backup. I ended up calling Brian from Data Porters very early in the morning, and I was doing my own troubleshooting steps. He logs on, and he's like, he looks at it. I gave him my assessment of the situation. Like, I don't understand why the port's not binding or whatever in MySQL. And then he was like, do you mind if I do a quick reboot on it? And then he's like, well, bam! And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, he's like, sometimes it just needs a reboot.
Did you try turning it off and then turning it back on again?
I was like, Brian, like,
This isn't Windows. That you don't.
No, because I did a reboot. I was like, oh, maybe something. So I rebooted it.
I knew you were going to say that.
I must not have rebooted it hard enough.
Yeah,
so
there's
next time I'll reboot it hard.
And then there's throwing it at the ground.
So I'm pretty sure he's going to charge me like $200 to reboot my server. So, but I deserve to pay $200 for doing that. So,
John, you can pay me $200 to reboot your server.
You didn't pseudo reboot, John. You gotta
so yeah, so I learned that lesson. And,
reboot, please. Not good enough.
Yeah, Iceland is pretty cool. You guys have to come visit Iceland. It's crazy. It's like Mordor. So
Nice.
It's like Mordor. I love it.
in fact, if you search for Iceland or Mordor, you'll find like this game where you have to choose pictures and decide if it's Iceland or if it's Mordor.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
That needs a link in the show notes.
Great. So, all right. So my thought, I guess, is going to be, so there's a saying, the money's in the list. I've just been really amazed lately how my own network, how your network is like your list. And so ideally you want to build an email list and a snail mail list and all that stuff too, but you start with your own network, and there's a lot of opportunities there.
Yep. All right. I guess that's it. I guess we're staying online to check.
Yeah,
and,
we gotta stop the recording here.
Yeah.